Welcome to Baseball Biz. We're not going to start today regular fanfare that Brandon and I do when we launched this show long ago. But Brandon called me the other day, and that's when I heard the news at first about the Rays radio announcer, Dave Wills, who's part of a duo. Dave Wills and Andy Freed have been calling the games on radio now for 18 years. This is their 19th year. Hey, good morning, Brandon. How you doing today, man?
I'm not doing too bad. How about you?
I'm doing okay. All things considered, eh? It's been interesting, with being a fan of the Rays for years. And I guess I've been here almost as long in Tampa, as long as Dave and Andy. And he's been part of basically my enjoyment of the Rays for those 18 years. He's got a strong voice, one that's friendly, it's engaging, and he and Andy have always been able to paint a picture of what's going out on the field for me.
Yeah, to me, I mean, they're the only radio voices of the Rays that I've known my whole life. And like what you were saying with Dave and Andy, man, they were like the perfect match with each other because like they balanced each other out perfectly. Where Andy was, kind of calmer, easygoing with it. Dave he would get really excited over everything. So like that balance that they had is perfect. And to me, they were arguably not just the best radio crew in baseball, but
Yeah, though, one thing I've heard time and time again is how prepared both these gentlemen have been, before any game. And in some instances, they know about more about the other team's roster and players than the competition's announcers. And that's had to be frustrating for some folks, but it's been a joy for us to have both Dave and Andy together like that for some time. And I don't know. I mean, there's something about when you hear him, that Rays win, Rays win, Rays win. And I shouldn't even try to do that. We'll play it later on, his voice, because that really kind of sinks it all in. I mean, he and Andy really played well off of one another. I mean, it was a conversation. It was two friends sitting side by side. When you told me this the other day, I tell you, Brandon, it was like a gut punch. It was just like bam. Luckily I was leaning against the bar, a bar in the kitchen. Okay, not against the bar to bar, but I felt like my feet were going to give out from underneath me because Dave Wills has been such a part of my life with baseball and enjoying the game. You know, God bless all the good people at Bally Sports and what they do on TV, but I listen to the radio game. I mean, there's been times when WDAE is not streaming it, and I've gone out to the car and drove around and listened to the game.
I've done that too, and especially a lot of the past few months I haven't lived in a market where I can watch the TV, so I've been listening to Dave and Andy whenever I want to take in a Rays game, and it's just been them. And like you're saying, they were the best at what they did. How they were friends. It felt like you were just like watching a game with them in the stands, like if you and I were at the top sitting next to each other, hanging out watching a game. That's what it sounded like.
There's really not a good way to express the fullness of the importance to me, and I think sure many other fans. It's they are the Rays. Okay, they are the voice of the Rays, and they worked so well together. Brandon, I don't think I realized sometimes when I was listening to the show, I thought, wait a minute, is this Andy or is this Dave? Now they have distinct voices, but one of the things that kind of confused me that these guys, do together or did together was that they would alternate sometimes who was doing the play by play and who was doing the color every few innings. And I was like, wait a minute, who is this guy? But they both know that the game so well, the team so well that was just part of who they were. And I know that Andy Freed's going to continue to be a great announcer with this, and I hope he's here for many years to come. I know, but it's not going to be the same for us. It's not going to be the same for him or the team and the front office as well. But good gravy, man. He's been an icon. I just to get a little clinical for a moment, I was doing a little homework, and the Athletic back in 2020, they did a survey of sorts on the top radio stations for MLB. Sadly, the Chicago White Sox were at the very end, followed by the New York Yankees, and then the other 28 teams. But the Tampa Bay Rays were listed as number two, only second to the San Francisco Giants. They gave them a ranking by between 1 and 5 on several different aspects. Let's see what they had here. They had play-by-play, color, informative, entertaining, and overall. And when you look at what, like I said, what the Rays came up with, the Rays, like I said, only being second to the San Francisco Giants. And so I don't really think anybody comes in second when you're that close. They virtually all hit fives.
Yeah, I mean, it's an organization like the Giants. They're a world class organization. So, I mean, this is not a team that you should hang your head to come in second to.
No. Like I said, I don't want to get too much on the business aspect of this, but if we're a baseball biz, we kind of have to at least take a peek at that. A lot of what goes on with announcers, and they have their own fraternity. They sometimes talk to one another, sometimes not. And TV and radio, sometimes they're together and sometimes they're not. But the one thing I found interesting was something that Keith Olbermann had to say on his show Counterpoint the other day. So I want to play a little bit of that right now.
There is a great sadness in baseball today. And in one of its major league cities, that sadness will continue for literally decades to come. Odds are probably pretty good you never heard Dave Wills broadcast a baseball game, and I am sorry about that. He was just terrific at it. Dave Wills began with the Chicago White Sox, and since 2005, he had done the games of the Tampa Bay Rays. And he had one of those gigantic, larger-than-life radio voices that all of them used to have that I had envied since I was a kid. It was strong and broad and yet welcoming and friendly, with the happy side effect of imparting any game or any team with that big game flavor.
That was from a tweet yesterday from Neil Solondz. He was pointing out Keith Olbermann's remarks. It's been like 18 minutes into his podcast the other day. Olbermann sometimes does a lot on politics, but on this particular part of the show, which is about 18 minutes into it, he's point on about Dave Wills. If you get to listen to that particular podcast, what you'll find out is the impact that Dave Wills made on his life. Keith Olbermann was going to be doing play-by-play on a baseball game, which he hadn't done for a long time. He was sitting down at a dinner table prior to the game with a lot of the other broadcasters. Dave Wills was across from him. I think Dave could sense his unease. And basically, he told him, hey, you're going to do fantastic. If you get uncomfortable, feel like you're getting sick because it's not working, he says, tap on the glass next to us and we'll come over and take care of things for you. There's a lot more to it than that. But the thing of it was, he really made, Olbermann at ease there. He felt like there was a comrade there, but also a professional who was above and beyond that. And time again, I'm hearing from like the guys on WDAE, how important he was to them, how much he was a giving person. He listened to people. I saw something from the Bally Sports for the Rays and Trisha Whitaker, and she was kind of forthcoming. She said something like just the day before he had passed, he had given her a little support and advice, I think, in a text. Evidently, something hadn't gone well with her. And basically, he said, let's see what it was here. Got that on that document. Never mind. I swear, Brandon, if it's like I want to try to get something done with this, it just decides, I'm not going to be there. So that'll be that. Anyway, the thing was, he's done so much. I mean, for the organization, he's done so much for the fans. And let's go ahead and I'll read a couple of the tweets that were sent out from there and see. Neil Solondz sent this out. Dave was the big brother I didn't have growing up, larger than life and a great friend. It's hard to believe yesterday we were all together in the booth. It doesn't seem real. We are stunned and heartbroken. All of our thoughts are with Liz, Michelle, and Alex. I believe that's Dave's family. Then Kevin Cash, he said something about he got spoiled when he was talking with Dave. He says, I think because he had so much fun with him. He said, Cash said, quote, we do our interview and it is literally 7 minutes of interview and probably 15 to 20 minutes of cutting up, laughing, or sharing frustrations together. Yeah. I like that. So Cash had it. We ride the ups and downs of the season together. That's important. I mean, there's a camaraderie with the team as well. But, it never stopped Dave from being analytical about what's going on with the game. You sometimes you listen to an announcer and you feel like, oh, this is just a force feed from the front office. This is just all the little cotton candy and sweetness that you're ever going to get. But on occasion, I mean, if it was called for, Dave would be critical of a play, whether it be from the bench, the manager, or one of the players out in the outfield saying, how did he get that? Or how did he miss that? He didn't refrain from not putting that out there. He was on the mark.
Yeah, that's to me what made him so great was not only was that he was fun, energetic in the booth, and it seemed like a fan calling the game, but the way he called it, he wasn't biased towards the Rays. Now, you could tell that he was happier when they would win, but like you're saying, he wasn't afraid to call them out, whether they did something wrong or if they did something right, or if the other team was just doing something better than them. He just called it the way he saw it.
Yeah, he did, and that was important. I think he and Andy both do that, and I can't imagine what it must feel like for Andy. If you figure for 18 years, in most of those years there was 162 games, and they're there side by side, and I want to say most years, excluding 2020, but yeah, but they were side by side. These guys are doing their homework together. They're calling the game together. And like I said, they're even sharing who's doing play by play in color, flip flopping that. So you can't do that unless you've got such a strong bond with that other broadcaster. And obviously, Andy had that with him. Let's see. Here's a tweet from Andy too, all about this. He said, quote, yesterday was like every other day for the last 18 years. Sharing, laughs, baseball, fun. No way to know it was the last time. Sadness beyond words today. It always felt like we were actual brothers. We'll miss him forever. Love to him and his family. That's what the message he puts out there in social media. And I'm presuming a lot when I say this, but I feel like his pain must go much deeper even than what he was willing to share.
Yeah, because like you're saying, all the time that they spent with each other, just over all the years, they probably spent more time with each other than they did with their own family in the grand scheme of things. And then all of a sudden it's just gone. It's got to be awful for them. I feel horrible for them and everybody involved.
Well, and I was trying to get something up here from Tricia Whitaker earlier, and I've got it. I can read this now. See, she said this was the last text that I have from Dave Wills. He was encouraging me after someone did something not so kind, as tends to happen in the business sometimes. He went out of his way to encourage me, and I'll never forget his words. Don't let them take that away from you. Wow. And then she shows the text, and it says, don't let them take that away from you. Keep doing what you're doing and doing it great. And then she's redacted the rest. But I was happy that she shared enough to let us know, he was somebody, doesn't say like he was a mentor, but somebody who to support the other broadcasters as well.
Yeah, I wish I could find, I saw it the other day. There was a picture of when they were in Houston. I believe it was for the playoffs a few years ago. And there was a picture with him, I believe Neil was there, Andy was there, Trisha Whitaker, she was there, and they're all having dinner at the stadium with Todd Callis, and like I thought that was just like such a cool picture to see. And I wish I could find it. I could retweet it out for everyone.
Yeah,
But I thought that was a great picture to see.
if you trip across that, let me know, and I'd like to share it as well.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, he was there in his bright Florida or Hawaiian style shirts.
Yeah, it was a trademark for him, wasn't it? I tell you.
Yeah, never saw without it.
Yep. You know, we've had him here for 18 years, but before he came here, he was actually with the White Sox. He was their pregame and postgame show. They're Neil Solondz, if you will. Yeah. So he did that. He left there in 2004 to come here. Who won the series in 2005?
I believe that was the White Sox.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that had to hurt a little bit, I guess. I shouldn't presume anything, but I'm sure he didn't look back too much on that because it was a whole new step for his career. And going back to that survey I was telling you back from 2020 and The Athletic, here is some of the analysis they put together on Andy and Dave. It says, Fried and Wills enter their 15th season, so it's been 4 years, calling Rays games, earning praise from listeners for their chemistry and camaraderie. Quote, they paint a great picture of the game while giving an enthusiastic call, unquote, one reader wrote. Quote, it's a bit of an old school feel. They come off as very affable to the listener, unquote. You won't get many calls of homerism with them. They're willing to be, and another quote, they're willing to be critical of play on the field when necessary, unquote, kind of what you and I were saying there a moment ago. And he goes on to say, a handful of readers opine that having a former player in the booth might add a little something extra to the broadcast. But one reader qualified that, quote, Andy and Dave are so informative. I don't know if they need it. Fried and Wills also do something I wish more broadcasters would do. I love the inside tidbits they give us about what they picked up in BP, batting practice, a reader wrote. In their market, the preference for following the Rays is by radio with Fried and Wills. I wish the radio feed went with TV. There's no need for TV broadcasters. Okay, well, that may be a little too much, but I appreciate the fans' honesty there through that survey. So it's there. What can you say?
I mean, I wouldn't have minded sometime in the future with Dwayne Stats, whenever he retired, make it a 3-man booth with Brian Anderson and have it a simulcast. I think that would be pretty good.
I love that, brother. I think that would be fantastic. As much as we're going on about Dave Wills and what he meant to us and when we listened to the games, it's not unusual, even when I was a kid, when you would go to a ball field and you would see somebody with a little transistor radio and a wire coming from it going into their ear, where they could listen to the game. and that's kind of the way, I wanted to do the games too when I went to the Trop, and because those guys do such a great job of calling the game. It's amazing. So they said they're going to be missed, but they're not going to be missed for more than just being on the ball field. Well, I mean, Dave did a lot for this community. Obviously Andy will continue to be with them, but he did a lot with local charities. And I don't know that everybody realized that, because usually most people who do something with charity don't wear it on their shirt, beating their chest. So, little research and some other people sharing some things. One of the organizations he worked with was Buddy Baseball. Have you heard of them?
Not.
Yeah, I have, just simply because little work I was doing at the Tampa Baseball Museum. This is from their site. Buddy Baseball is a non-competitive recreational league for boys and girls with special needs, serving the Tampa Bay community. Here's the part I like. Each player is paired with a buddy to assist the player as needed on the field and in the dugout. The league fosters friendships and breaks down barriers. Not only do the players experience the thrill of participating in a sport, they also get the experience to team play and camaraderie. Buddy Baseball is an opportunity like no other for children with special needs. Both girls and boys are encouraged to play and be buddies. And you can find out more at buddybaseball.org. But the idea of Dave working with a charity like that, helping kids with special needs. And I like the whole idea of the buddy. They got a support person who's there with the kid to, to help them as they're playing the game and to understand the game and help build that team friendship amongst them.
That seems like something that he would do, just his attitude with everything. He's always seemed so happy and willing to help people. That doesn't surprise me that he'd do something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of fits with his character. Another one he did was an organization, HEP, Homeless Empowerment Program, which can be found at www.hepempowers.org. And this is another charity that Dave worked with. Looking at their mission statement, it says, how we help, priding ourselves in providing the best care possible. We have vowed from the beginning to never give an HEP resident a bed we wouldn't sleep in, clothes we wouldn't wear, or food we wouldn't eat. This, from everything you hear about Dave and the support he did with, whether it's other broadcasters or anybody else, the things he did with the community, I'd like to honor the man. I mean, I'm going to make some sort of contribution probably to both these organizations, maybe monetarily and also with some time. I like especially that Buddy Baseball. I think it's up there around, what is it? I think Temple Terrace area. So I'm going to reach out to them, maybe even have them on the show sometime soon.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, I don't really have much more to share about Dave. I think there's a lot of people out there doing a more thorough job than us. And I'd recommend, if you go on iHeartRadio and looking for, I think it's the J and Z show on WDAE, they did a great show on Monday, and they have excerpts of it. I think in 3 different parts. The beginning of each one of those hours, they really spend a lot of time talking about Dave. And they have some interviews with people who have more of a personal experience with him too. So it's worth listening to.
Yeah, DAE, they always do a really good job of remembering people during their shows. I remember after Steve Newman died, most of our listeners, they may not know who he was, but he was like one of the big names that founded sports radio around this area. I remember when he passed away a few years ago, they did all their shows a great job of remembering him. I didn't listen to any of the Dave Wills ones the other day, but I'm definitely going to go back and listen to them because I'm sure they did a great job in remembering him.
Yeah, they did. And, I know sometimes they get a little crazy on that station, but like you said, when they do something commemorative, I think they do a really good job of it. So again, a great loss. I consider him, while never having met him, a friend of the game and a friend who shared the game with me and countless others. So sadness, and send our best thoughts and wishes to his family and everyone else who feels a tragic loss with Dave being gone now.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better myself. It's not going to be the same without him, but Andy and Neil, I'm sure they'll do a great job to do the best they can and carry on.
I'm with you there. Both those gentlemen, not only are they great people, they're fantastic professionals. What I do want to do is when we go out now from the show, Brandon, I'd like to do it with that voice we always love to hear, and the signature line of Dave Wills at the end of any winning game, but this one in particular we're going to share with you. And what happens when the Rays win?
Swing and a fly ball left field and deep. Back at it is Heisey at the track. It's good! Rays win! Rays win! Rays win!
Thank you for joining Brandon and I today here on Baseball Biz on Deck as we reflect on Dave Wills, a man who's given so much to this community, both as a great broadcaster for the Tampa Bay Rays and as a man and friend to many. At the bottom of the show notes, you'll find information on the charities that he worked with. If you wish to contribute your time, money, or anything else for them, they're there. Again, thanks again for joining us today. And remember, you can find us on baseballbizondeck.com. You can find us on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We're everywhere. And we look forward to seeing you all again real soon. Special thanks to XTakeRUX for the music, Rocking Forward.